If you're coaching people, if you're helping people, there's one set of questions that you can ask after you're done that will maximize the impact that you have with the people that you're helping, that you're coaching, that you're guiding. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to Master the Mind. And today we are going to be talking about the importance of testing a change. And we're going to be going through another series of power questions. But the importance of testing a change. And the reason I wanted to talk about this was, first of all, if you were cooking, I want you just to imagine for a moment that you're cooking food, right? You could be the best chef in the world. However, at the end of the day, if you're an amazing chef, what do you do at the end of your cooking? You taste your food. You want to find out, did this meal work? Is it good? So you taste it, and then you might add a little bit more salt. You might add a little bit more whatever, but you're tasting the food. And that is what a good chef does. They taste, they find out if what they've done has worked. You have a plan and you just adjust slightly. There's slight adjustments that you need to make. And that's the same with your coaching people. You need to test it. You need to taste afterwards, and then maybe make some small adjustments. And so the session we're going to be talking about today, that covers a little bit of testing, but it also covers, even if you've done the job well, why this phase or these questions are so powerful is because it polarizes your client. So I'll give you an example. My wife is not here right now, and I would like to admit that once upon a time I have argued with my wife. Shock, horror. And here's the thing: before an argument, I don't know if you've ever experienced this if you've ever argued with someone, and I'm sure you have, where there's something that you didn't care about, like it didn't bother you so much. But then you have this argument with someone, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're polarized. Like you have a very strong feeling against someone because you had this whole argument about it. And to be honest with you, if you're really honest, if someone asked you about it before, you wouldn't have cared so much about it. I've had a couple of those things where all of a sudden, because I've argued, I've made a big stand against something, whereas before it wouldn't have bothered me so much. So this is why this is so important. Like when you test, when you work with someone, if you're coaching them, if you're helping them, if you ask them a question afterwards, if you push them back, they kind of dig their heels in the sand and make a stand for what they believe in. And typically, if you ask the right kind of questions, you get them to believe the things that you want them to believe. So that's very, very, very powerful. Now, why am I making a video about this technique? Well, I have made these mistakes myself, right? Because I've learned hypnosis, and I learned hypnotherapy, and I learned NLP and all these things. What I used to do is I learned all these amazing techniques, and I do the technique with someone, and then afterwards, someone would I'd get them to open their eyes, and I'd be like, "This was good for you. You've changed. Stuff has happened." And I tell them what has happened. I tell them the things that has been good about what their experience. But it's not as powerful if you tell them, even if they have experienced it. It's not as powerful if you tell them. So I'm guilty because I used to do this. I've made these mistakes, and I started to realize that it's so much more powerful when you ask questions and you get them to tell you what was different. And so this is, and the cool thing is about questions is it will either give you feedback. It's like a taste test. Oh, I need to add a bit more salt. What can you add or do a little bit more of? Or it will solidify their thought. It will get them to be like, okay, I believe this now. So questions either give feedback or solidarity. Now, so here are the testing and a few testing and feedback questions. These are just examples, but I'll give you some categories that you can go through so that you understand how the testing and feedback questions work. So let's get started with number one. So if you've been helping someone and then you've asked them a bunch of questions, you've worked with them, etc. After you've worked with them, just make them aware of the difference. So you just ask them something like, after you've been working with someone or talking to them or helping them or whatever, just say, okay, so it seems like you're looking a bit better, you're feeling a bit better. What do you know now that you didn't know when we first started our conversation? And that will get someone to think. They'll start to think about the change. They'll start to think about, okay, well, I'm not as delicate as I thought I could be, or something like that. They will come up with something that is very powerful and gets them to start to solidify their stance that, oh my, you know what, I have changed, I am feeling better, etc. So that was number one. That's the first part. You want to just make them a bit aware of the difference by asking a question that could make them aware of it. Like, what do you know now that you didn't know when we first started our conversation? So that's number one. Number two. And then if they've become aware of something that then ask them, how does that make you feel? So you said you realize that you're not as delicate as before. So how does that make you feel? Ask them how they feel about it once they figure out how do they feel. Or ask them on a scale of 1 to 10. If they were like, oh, you know what, I feel bad or whatever, and at the beginning you ask them, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel? They say, oh, I feel terrible. It's like a 1. Or the crappy feeling is a 9 out of 10. And then you say, okay, how do you feel now? How's that crappy feeling now? It's like, how intense is it? It's like a 4 out of 10. Oh, wow. So it's improved. Okay. So you just ask them, how do they feel now? Just make them aware of the feeling that's associated to that. So that's the second part. Number three. And then make them aware of that improvement. So if they are feeling a bit better, it doesn't have to be 100% better, but just like, oh, okay. So your bad feeling was a 9 and now it's a 7. Wow, what's changed? How come, what shifted it? What moved it? Any progress is good. As long as you've made progress, that's amazing. Be happy with the progress, but just like make them aware that they have made progress. And that's a good thing, because when they realize they've made progress, they can make more progress. So and if they're sitting there going, well, my bad feeling was a 9 and now it's a 7, they're like, they may be second guessing it. You could just ask a question like, how come it's not lower? Depending on your scale, right? But like, or how come it's not higher? This crappy feeling, how come it's not higher? So, you just be like, oh, wow. How come it's not worse than what you've said? Like, it's not worse than that number that you gave? Why not? So what's shifted it? What's made this big shift? What's improved it? So just make them aware of the improvement. So that was number 3. Number four. This is the part that I like to enjoy. So you're saying you've improved. Are you sure? Like, this is where people really start to dig in their heels. Okay, you want to play the devil's advocate, right? You want to push them a little bit and just sort of start challenging them in a friendly way, like, oh, are you sure that things have improved? Are you just saying that to make me feel better? Are you sure things? So just start challenging what they're saying in a friendly way. And then number five. And then do a friendly tease. Like, so here's what I like to do. So if I help someone quit smoking, for example, and then I would like go, okay, so hey, let's celebrate. Let's have a cigarette. And this is a great way to test, right? You help someone quit chocolate, you just go offer them chocolate. Whatever. If you've helped someone go from feeling bad to feeling good, you say, okay, go on. What happens when you try and feel bad? Go on, please. Come on, try feel bad. Come on, let's take this seriously. Like, come on, make yourself feel bad right now. Like, and you tease them, like try and offer them, try and get them to feel bad, and don't worry about breaking it. If it breaks, that's okay. Like if they kind of say, oh, fine, that's okay, because then you just say, okay, let's go back and try again. Let's work on a little bit more. That's the taste test. And however, if you get them to refuse or say, look, I can't feel bad, I really can't, I'm trying to feel bad, or I'm trying to do whatever it is that they didn't want to do anymore, you get them to feel that way and convince you that they can't do it anymore, then they have convinced themselves. This is the thing. Once they say, oh, I can't, you just say, why do you say that? Why? Only ask a why question on a positive. If someone is like, oh, I just can't feel bad. Why? That's a positive thing, right? You only ask why if they've gotten over the problem, or if they believe that they've gotten over the problem. So why do you say that? Why do you say that you can't have a cigarette anymore? Why do you say that you can't eat chocolate anymore? Why do you say that you can't feel crap anymore? And let them justify it. When somebody justifies, then they are convincing themselves. And here's where what it all comes down to. The more that they convince you through your questions, the more that they take a stand and they convince you, the more that they are convincing themselves for the long term. So it's not, you're asking these questions not just for your sake, you're asking it for them, because the more that they tell you, the stronger that they push back and tell you all these things, the more that they're going to believe it themselves, the more that they are telling themselves, I have changed, I am better, I am stronger, I am more powerful. So the more that they convince you, the more that they will convince themselves. And that is very, very, very powerful. So with that, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Those are the steps. And remember, don't tell them the change. Let them tell you the change. And you get that information through powerful questions. With that, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you all. And with that, I will catch you on another episode real soon. And remember, don't tell them the change, let them tell you the change. And finally, hopefully use this information and make an impact in someone's life, even if it's your own. I want to appreciate you. Thank you guys so much. Peace out. One love. And I will catch you on another episode real soon. Bye for now.